Game of Thrones Season 8 Episode 2 Leak. Script. Got SO8DO2 Leak. Scene 1. The first scene will take place in the Great Hall of Winterfell. Jon, Daenerys, Tyrion, Davos and Sansa are present here. Gendry and Tormund tell the rest that the wall has fallen and the Night Watch destroyed. Tormund also mentions that the Night King rides an undead dragon and that they are severely fucked. Bran Stark confirms Gendry and Tormund's story and tells that the Night King is on his way to Winterfell. Jon Snow tells the rest that they have no time to lose and asks Maester Wolkan to inform all of their banners, everyone in the north, to prepare themselves for a war against the army of the dead. They need to prepare for an attack at the battlefield of Winterfell. Scene 2. After having to process a lot of new information and struggling with his identity, Jon Snow goes to the crypts to visit his mother, Lyanna, and his uncle, Ned Stark. Daenerys notices that there's something wrong with Jon and finds him in the crypts. She asks Jon what's wrong with him. Jon tells her that he even isn't called Jon Snow. He calls Jon Snow a lie. People have made him believe all of life. Daenerys is confused and asks Jon for clarification, but Jon walks away from her. Daenerys notices that Jon behaves aloof toward her. Daenerys walks out of the crypts, which Jorah Mormont notices. He asks her what happened down them in the crypts, but Daenerys answers that she doesn't know what's up with Jon. She tells Jorah that Jon is hiding something from her. Jorah also tells Daenerys that it struck him that Daenerys has been so absent for days. She answers that she's not feeling very well lately. Jorah proposes to have her examined by Maester Wolkan. Scene 3. Qyburn enters Cersei's chambers. He mentions that she hasn't spoken about her miscarriage anymore and that she needs to take enough time to rest. Cersei answers that there's no time for that and doesn't want to say more about the miscarriage. Qyburn leaves her chambers. Cersei watches from her window, witnessing how the snow falls in King's Landing. Scene 4. The next shot is Jaime, riding his horse in snowy conditions. He and Bronn arrive in Riverrun. Both discover that the twos are once again laying siege to Riverrun. Jaime enters the stage and meets up with Edmure. Edmure tells Jaime he should have him in chains, but Jaime responds that he doesn't come to argue about the damned castle. He proposes Edmure to help his niece and nephew in the Great War against the Night King. He also promises to give Edmure Riverrun back to the Tullies, since it doesn't matter any longer who's holding the castle at this point. Edmure tends to agree, not for Jaime but for his family. Scene 5. Most of House Stark's bannermen and Daenerys' army have now arrived in Winterfell. Among them is Howland Reed. He arrived with his army and Mira Reed by his side. Arya receives a visitor in Winterfell. He seems to be an ordinary bannerman from House Serwyn, but he quickly removes his face. It seems to be Jaqen. Arya is surprised to have Jaqen visiting her. Jaqen tells Arya the many-faced god requires another death, a name to be crossed off her list. He reveals it to be the Queen of the Seven Kingdoms, Cersei Lannister. A price was paid. What better servant of the many-faced god than Arya Stark can kill Cersei Lannister? He gives a vial of poison to Arya and leaves her. Scene 6. Jon Snow seizes the moment to talk with Howland Reed alone. He asks Howland to confirm Bran's story, but Howland doesn't acknowledge this at all. Jon Snow pleads him to tell the truth since Robert Baratheon isn't alive any longer. There's no point in lying anymore. Howland ultimately confirms that Ned was carrying Lyanna's child when he came out of the Tower of Joy. He always promised him to keep this a secret. Jon thanks him for telling the truth anyway. Scene 7. Knowing that the army of the undead will be upon them very soon, Tyrion, Jon, Sansa, Arya, Brienne, Podrick, Davos, Tormund, Gendry, Varys, Jorah, Theon, the Hound, Grey Worm and Sam discuss together with the Stark bannermen and Daenerys' army how they will defend the north. Allegedly the last hearth has already been attacked by the White Walkers and their castle destroyed. Ned Umber didn't make it out alive. Tyrion speaks for Daenerys, who's absent due to illness. He comes forward with a plan to defend the north. Tormund, the remaining free folk, the Dothraki, the Unsullied will attack with Dragonlass from the Dreadfort since that's where they are heading to first. On their way to Winterfell, the dragons will set the army of the dead afire and House Stark's bannermen and the Knights of the Vale will fight weakened forces at the battlefield of Winterfell and hopefully destroy the Night King as well. Jon wants Bralin and Podrick to take Sansa, Arya and Bran with the men to leave with Robin into the Eyrie. Arya doesn't want to and claims that she's stronger than most men. They need her in the war to come. Jon insists that he doesn't want that. Jorah also wants to fight alongside House Mormont, but Lyanna reminds him that he has betrayed his own house. Varys mentions that he has also received word from King's Landing. Supposedly, Queen Cersei has bought a great army of Caesars and Euron Greyjoy has taken Storm's End to install the army there. Theon pleads to have Storm's End attacked and Gendry agrees since it's the seat of his father's house. Jon promises Theon that he will help to destroy Euron and save his sister after they have dealt with the Night King and his army. There's no time for that now since all of their lives are in danger and they have no choice than to face the Night King and his army. He needs his help and that of the Iron Islanders as well during the battle at Winterfell. A disappointed Theon accepts his proposal. Scene 8. Missandei visits Daenerys in her chambers. Daenerys tells Missandei that Maester Wolkan examined her and that he confirmed that she's pregnant. Missandei asks why she isn't happy then. Daenerys feels that Jon has changed towards her and she doesn't understand why. Scene 9. The Free Folk. The Dothraki, the Unsullied prepare to leave Winterfell. Jon asks Daenerys why she didn't attend this important gathering, but Daenerys doesn't reply to that as well. Meera goes to say goodbye to Bran in the Godswood in Winterfell when Bran starts to behave very strangely. He pleads Meera to warn them since the Night King's army is here. Jon is going to say goodbye to Sansa when Meera runs to warn the others. A huge winter storm starts to come closer to Winterfell. Chaos erupts. Scene 10. The North and Daenerys' army gather outside to face the Night King's army. Jon orders Sansa, Arya and Daenerys to stay inside Winterfell. They are too valuable to lose and promises them that Winterfell will not fall. Varys, Tyrion, Robin, Samwell, Gilly, Lyanna and Missandei also remain inside Winterfell. Arya first doesn't want to but obeys Jon's wish. Sansa asks Meera to get Bran inside ASAP. A huge flock of whites invade the battlefield of Winterfell. Dothraki face the army of the dead first and many of them are taken out quite easily. Lots of White Walkers keep coming. Ghost fights with Jon then saves him at one point from a White Walker trying to kill him. Ghost is killed off trying to save Jon. Inside Winterfell, Daenerys is frustrated that she's not able to help and that she should fly Drogon to destroy the undead. Missandei answers that it's not wise to join the fight while she's pregnant. Sam tries to console Gilly and little Sam. The news surprises Sansa, Tyrion, and Varys. Drogon comes in between and takes out a big chunk of the Night King's army but also kills some of the Northern Bannermen in the process. The White Walkers also enters the stage with the Night King flying undead Viserion above them. Viserion starts to destroy the Northern's army as well. Lord Glover and Howland Reed die, and are killed by dragon fire. Tormund leads the Free Folk and fights but is killed by Drogon's fire. Drogon also manages to kill an undead giant. Meera wants Bran to leave the Godswood but he tells her he has help in Jon and co. Bran is trying to control Rhaegal with his mind. Meera warns Bran that is too dangerous and that he should stay inside. Jon and Daenerys' army is diminishing greatly since the White Walkers keep coming. White Walkers try to invade Winterfell. Grey Worm faces two White Walkers and is able to take out one of them with his spear made from dragonlass. The other White Walker kills him. The White Walkers supposedly try to invade Winterfell to take down Bran. Brian guards the castle together with Podrick, Jorah, and Gendry. White Walkers start to invade there as well. Podrick is killed off by a group of whites, which makes Brienne go psycho and takes out one of the White Walkers as well with Oathkeeper. Meera is urging Bran to give up and get inside but Bran doesn't want to. He wants Meera to leave instead and get safe inside the castle. Meera answers that she will stay together with him until the end. Jaime Lannister and the Tully forces come to the North Side right in time. Bran is managing to warg inside Rhaegal and the dragon starts to fight undead Viserion, trying to bite him right in the neck but gets gravely injured during the fight as well. Rhaegal starts to breathe fire on Viserion, which seems to make the Night King start leaving the battlefield on injured Viserion's back. Scene 11. Mira realizes that this is the end for them. White Walkers are coming for Bran and she gets killed off by the White Walkers while defending Bran's body. Viserion and Rhaegal keep fighting each other and both start to be seriously injured. It seems like Dragonfire can harm the Night King. The White Walkers stab Bran to death, which makes Rhaegal fall to the ground and to be stabbed to death by Whites. The Night King's army of undead is starting to diminish. We see Jaime commanding his men and fighting the remaining undead alongside Bronn. Jon fights alongside the Hound and Davos. The Hound is fighting like a boss right here. When Jon starts to notice that the Night King's army is retreating as well, he commands everybody to leave the battlefield ASAP and goes with Davos and the Hound to get everyone safely outside now. The Knights of the Vale, Sansa, Brian and Robin leave together to the area. The Hound, Jaime Lannister, Bronn, Admiral Tully and Lannister forces retreat to Riverrun. Jon, Davos, Tyrion, Varys, Missandei, Jorah, Samwell, Gilly, Little Sam, Theon. The remaining Unsullied and Dothraki forces travel south. Lyanna Mormont and her men retreat to Bear Island. Scene 12. The last shot we see is Jon and Daenerys on Drogon's back setting all the dead afire including dead Rhaegal. Both sides suffered great losses in this fight. Deaths: Grey Worm, Tormund, Podrick, Mira, Bran, Rhaegal, Robert Glover, Howland Reed. What do you think of Game of Thrones Season 8 Episode 2 leak? Let us know via comments below.